because it
Oh,
there.
now it says live.
Got it.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
We should be live on
buddy.
Facebook, folks. You see
Okay.
us, Carrie? Just
Not
make sure.
quite- Not quite yet, but
We always have to do our check here, Jane, because we want to
Yeah.
make sure that we're actually
Actually
in the
live.
right place at the right time.
Yeah, it's good. Good.
Carrie? I'm doing a check too. Quick.
I'm not seeing us yet. Oh, here we are.
Found us? Magical Mentoring?
Are.
Yay!
All
There we
right.
are.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm so excited.
Yes.
It's Friday.
I am too, and I'm so excited to be here. Today, folks, we're here with Jane DeForest. Very excited to have Jane here. Jane's quite magical, I have to tell you. Jane is an author, an artist, a medium, an animal communicator. She does intuitive art consultations, shamanic healing, and she's quite amazing. And I have to tell you, I've had a reading with her myself, so I can speak to the truth of this. And Jane, you say in your on your webpage that you consider yourself a bridge. Can you explain that a bit?
Yeah, so I believe that we all have the ability to communicate with ancestors on the other side, with animals. I think people do it all the time, frankly, with Mother Nature herself. So I consider myself the liaison, the messenger, and so that I can help bring this message through. You know, many times what I'm doing is confirmation for people. So they say, you know, I really felt like my grandmother was leaving me dimes, but I just wasn't sure. Or, you know, I felt like the dog was telling me she was sick, or something like that. But yeah, so that's how I
So you connect, you're able, and I have to attest to that, because it's really cool when you get confirmation about something that you're feeling, that you think, you know, you're saying, I feel like this is happening, I'm not sure. And when you go to Jane, you don't have to tell her that, because she'll tell you that it's happening. That's the really cool thing about it. She'll just
really
say, oh,
interesting. It's such interesting work. Oh my heavens. It's a dream job. My gosh.
It's so magical. So magical.
Well, can you tell us a little bit, like, how did you get started in this intuitiveness, but also, like, how did you start doing this, your healing work for work?
Right. That's a really good question. How does one go about such a thing? I really feel the universe guided me. I had early experiences that were intuitive and psychic. I would not say, I really don't think I'm like a natural genius psychic. I really don't, because I know there's people who are just better than me. But I really just knew things when I was young and had mystical experiences. And I came from a very intellectual PhD family that was valued the arts. So very sophisticated, sort of elegant upbringing. And my mother was sort of the days of the hippies, and she would take us down to Old Town in Chicago, and there'd be fortune tellers, and she'd take me to tea leaf readers and tarot readers and palm readers. And I just found this whole world so fascinating. A lot of my time was sort of spent in this daydream magical world, and it was the antithesis of my you know, left brain academic upbringing. So so I was sort of drawn to it. And then I started studying. I started learning how to develop it. And I do want to underscore that it is my contention that we all have a sixth sense, that it's part of our natural architecture. And I do see that intuitively in people. Although people, I'm giving this answer in a sort of roundabout way, but I do feel that people have different kinds of intuition. So many people are empaths. People are psychics. They'll get, they know who's calling, or my husband has amazing weather intuition. He can smell snow 3 days away. People understand how to read Mother Nature's omens. So there's all different types of intuition, and everybody, in my opinion, has all different types, just in different proportions. Like a fingerprint, everybody has a different way of intuiting. But, and this is what I really want to emphasize, is it does take practice. In a way, in my opinion, it's like playing the piano, that with regular practice, if you practice half an hour a day for a year, you'll be able to play Mozart. Some people can't play chopsticks after a year, and some people can play Mozart the second week, but most of us with regular practice can develop our innate ability. So that's what I did. And then I started doing readings a lot for my husband's business people, sort of my, friends of friends. It was pretty low key. I'm pretty good at business readings, so I sort of got a reputation with that, where I'd look at strategically what was happening with the company and where they could maneuver, so that sort of was my bread and butter for a while. And then one time, my mother-in-law, who died many years before I ever met my husband, appeared in the living room, and I described her to a T. She was wearing the garment that, I don't tell this story very often. She must be with me. She was wearing, I described the garment down to the buttons that she was buried in.
Wow.
Yeah, and I gave him specific messages that made sense, and highlighted memories that I knew nothing about. And that's when it struck me that I could incorporate this work. And so I started doing that. And then I did a reading for a friend who's a client, and her daughter had taken her life. On Mother's Day, she was 30 years old and went out to a gun range and turned the gun. Yeah.
Oh, I feel it too. I'm just like, wow.
Anyway, it's chapter 1 of my book. And so this young woman who left a 5th grade son behind, it was a very touching story, and it was accurate. So I was getting very specific information about her coming back, and signs through birds. Many of our people on the other side somehow can take control of birds very easily. So, it's an ancient concept that birds are omens, but so just to she ended up waking me up 3 o'clock in the morning till I wrote her story. And so I kept writing stories and ended up with a book. And then it was time to come out with the book. And I called my children and my family, and I said, I want to come out. I want to do this, not just, for friends of friends. I want to come out. I feel I'm called, but I don't want to do it if it's going to upset your world, because we live in a conservative suburban community, and they have friends, and I didn't want, and there's a lot of stigma about being an intuitive, you all kinds of stigmas, which I can talk about if you want, but the kids gave me the go ahead, and I stepped out. I made a website, I'm very professional. And then my premise, I never advertise. I do, an occasional interview or an occasional conference I speak at, but I decided that I wouldn't advertise. because if I was any good, people would return and refer people. So that's how I started. That's
So
a
how long
good
ago?
answer.
That's a
Yeah,
great
so how
answer.
long ago was that?
I stepped down, I think it was 8 years ago, and I was very blessed to be able to be a reader. And there's a lovely
Yes.
metaphysical bookstore called New Renaissance Bookshop in Portland, which is really an epicenter for all things magical and spiritual. And so they welcomed me with open arms, and they're beautiful, beautiful souls there. And so I had a place to go, and one thing led to another, and I've built a stable business with a good reputation, and it really does take, in my opinion, having it does help if you have a particular talent for it, and I do feel that I have a talent. I use my art. I was a professional artist for many years and painted murals. So I use my art. Everybody gets a drawing when they come, and I use the drawing to inform me. It's a tool. And so, but I do feel having a propensity is helpful, but really being professional, learning how to hone your craft, showing up. Andy Warhol said showing up is 80%, being there on time, pulling it together, and then being professional, follow up with your emails, and do good work, do your best work. So, yeah.
Well, and Jane can connect you with your ancestors, your guides, angels, and she can also connect you with pets. She does do animal communication, which is kind of rare. I mean, you can find it, but it's kind of rare, and it's really cool because a lot of people, I mean, I know personally, when one of my dog passed a few years back, I wanted to connect with her so bad after she passed. And I did. I was able to connect with her and know that she's okay. And it's so funny, whenever my daughter walks into our house, my daughter's a bit psychic herself. When she walks in the house, she always says, Evie's here, my dog. She goes, so she's so happy here in this house. So it's nice that I know she's with us. So you do that for other people, Jane. Can you tell us a bit about animal communication?
Oh, I love to. I love doing animal communication. It's so great. So there are particular people who are animal communicators only. I consider myself a generalist. So I can see through this dimension into the subtle realm. So for me, it doesn't matter if I'm talking to an ancestor or an animal or an angel or
My grandmother.
Yeah, your grandmother came through in our session. Okay.
Yes.
It doesn't matter to me because it's in the subtle realm. So I just show up and they show up. Talking to animals is so powerful. So I'm either talking to an animal that's alive, that's in front of me, or a picture. It's all non-local. So I'm able to communicate with an animal from a picture or just the mind of the person I'm reading, or the energy field. I'm never sure exactly what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pets, it's interesting. Dogs, of course, animals don't understand the concept of ownership. I mean, that's logical. You could sort of just figure that out yourself. But animals have different perceptions of their humans depending on the type of animal they are and the individual animal. Like cats have I'm sure you could even figure that out yourself. Cats have a very different idea about their humans than dogs, for example. Cats see humans as sort of, cats know that humans aren't cats, but they sort of see humans like hairless, two-legged feline things. Like they really identify with the human in a way. And they see humans as sort of they're they're stewarding the human. They don't see that the human owns them. They see that they're sort of taking care of the human in a distance sort of way. Now a dog is, now a dog's completely different. A dog sees the human as more like it, not a dog, but as it's sort of hard to put into words, but the dog owns the human in a way. It's their human, and they have to hold on to it and protect it and take care of it. It's a much different relationship.
Wow.
Now, I have done animal communications for, as you can see, I have difficulty using words sometimes because animals have a different mentality than humans. And animals are also quite different because there's their species, and then there's the individual animal, and then there's sort of the archetype of the animal. So animals are really fascinating. But I have done volunteer work. I do pro bono work in a couple different ways. With animals, the pro bono work I've done is with a big cat sanctuary, where I was called in to see if the animals, some of them were sick, if they liked their food, what was going on. Would you like me to tell you one story about the
Yeah, please, because I'm like in a trance already with you. I'm like hanging on every word, like
I can sort of go on and on. But so I was called in, and I was sort of cavalier about it. You know, I took my basket full of things. I set up an altar. When I got there, I was just sort of like, yes, I'm being called to help these big cats. And so I'm, you know, this is my job and this is what I'm going to do. And I got there, and then I was let, you know, there's double fences. And I was let into the inner fence so that I could stick my finger through the fence and touch the animal if I wanted to.
wow.
And all of a sudden, I mean, I'm this close to a tiger. And I was like, all of a sudden I could just feel, because I'm connecting with these animals. So these animals are seeing me like dinner. And so I could feel this fear. It just started at my feet and it went right up my back and it like came up my head. And I'm like, and then I don't know if you've ever done yoga, but there's this position in yoga called the tiger where you go,
Yes.
Yeah. All of a sudden the tigers start going like this. And I'm like, what's going on? That's how the tigers receive information from, you know, dinner, is they do that thing with their tongue. So it was just losing my focus completely entirely. So I got my drawing pad, which is how I get information, and I started to collect myself. And so I came back and started talking to the tiger, and the tiger's saying that he actually liked this man. And this man came and made noise to him, and they liked the noise. And the man had brown things in his mouth, and he smelled bad. But he had a nice heart. The tiger knew he had a nice heart. So I told this to my patron, or my client, I guess, who had invited me to do this work. And she said, oh, that's Bob. I can't remember his name, but let's call him Bob. He lives in the trailer right there. And I look over there, there's a trailer right next to, he tends the grounds, and he comes and sings to the tigers and the big cats every night.
Wow.
He's a chain smoker. I guess tigers don't like smoke. And he's missing teeth. So the brown in his mouth. Isn't that interesting?
Wow. Yeah.
And then I was closed my eyes and I started to get some more information. And then all of a sudden, my client yells, "Run!" And I'm like, oh my God. So I just grabbed my stuff and ran, and I'm thinking of the headlines. The psychic didn't see it coming, you know? And I'm like, my blonde hair sticking out of the tiger's mouth. But well, apparently, cats think, who knows why they do it, because I didn't ask, but he squatted down and stuck his bottom out at me and peed at me. Like they pee, this is something they do. So it was like that. If you've ever smelled tiger pee, it's really weird. But
I haven't smelled it yet.
it is so weird. But they had different kinds of cats. I'll just tell you this one story. I could go on with all kinds of
love this.
so then so this is part of what I do when I do a reading. I get very specific information that there's no way that I could know, and I need to have at least 80 to 95% accuracy before I proceed with the reading, or I'll give my client the money back. I can't remember the last time it happened, but I just want to make sure karmically I'm across the table or across the chain link fence from my client, and I know that what I say affects this person's fate. So I want to make sure that I'm absolutely, at least 80 to 95% accurate on whatever question they're going to ask me, like, should I stay or should I go? That's a big question. But anyway, so in this enclosure, there were tigers, there were lions, and there was one black jaguar.
Wow.
Now it was interesting. There were 8 cats, and I mean, it was really sort of sad, but there were 8 cats in 4 enclosures, and 2 cats shared. So I went around and talked to the lions, and the lions told me things, and then some were sick. So we went through that. So by the time I went back, the last group I talked to had the black jaguar in it. Completely different energy than the lions and the tiger. It was so interesting. And what this black jaguar told me was that he was not like the other cats, and that he was not like them. I don't know that he wanted to move, but he just wanted me to know that he wasn't from where they were from. Well, it turns out the black jaguars from South America.
I was just going to say, aren't they from South America?
Yes, and there was something very different about this cat. He really had a different dimensional quality to him, is how I'll put it. Now, I have studied shamanism with several teachers, and it is known in indigenous cultures that South American shaman do shapeshift and take the shape of a black jaguar at night, or can. And I didn't really know what to make of that story. Part of my philosophy is don't know mind, or believe everything, just not everything's true, but have an open mind. So I didn't judge it. I just didn't know that it was true. But after this conversation, I understood that that this is a different kind of creature. Very, very powerful. I had a very powerful experience when I was in Egypt with a basalt statue in Karnak of Sekhmet, who is a cat-headed goddess. And we actually had ceremony in the small antechamber, and you could see in her eyes, everybody asked her a question, and in her eyes, if the answer was no, you'd see a tear. And yes, I forget what yes was, but it was powerful. Actually, I'm going on a tangent, but I sort of want to put this out there. The ancients didn't perceive art in the way that we perceive it. They saw art, of course, for its beauty, but that representations of the divine were vehicles through which that energy could enter this dimension. I'm sort of going on a tangent, but
No, I love that.
I love all of it. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
art, animals, like, you're my people for sure.
Yeah, you're my people. I'm really glad to be here and be talking about this. What a great opportunity, right? The day after equinox.
Yes.
Yeah. And like right before the new moon.
Right before the new moon. That's right.
Well, and I wanted to say, having experienced a reading with you, that Jane starts off by going through your chakras and connecting with each chakra. And the information you gave me out of the chakras, for me personally, was amazing. And I know I was just smiling the whole time because I'm like, yes, yes, yeah. It was just quite amazing. But she goes through the chakras and connects with each chakra and gives you that information. And then she opens up the reading for your questions. So you have the opportunity to also ask specific questions about your life and what's going on, which is really cool. So really good experience, the reading with you. And it's powerful. I feel better about things since it, and I actually trust myself more because you gave me those confirmations.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like the confirmation. I mean, even if you're intuitive yourself, it's like
You still need
that
confirmation.
confirmation. You're like, okay.
Yeah, it was really quite. I'm going to tell a little bit of mine so people can understand. One of the first things Jane said to me was that she's talking to me. She goes, Aileen, what I'm seeing is archetypes around your head, a crown of the tarot card archetypes up above your head. And she gave me the message. She said, you actually embody these archetypes and you actually talk to them. And through doing that, you're bringing life to them and they're answering you and they're talking. And that's what my book's about. I mean, but she didn't know that. So yes, that's what I was just shocked when you said that. I was like, oh my God, that's so cool that you're connecting that I embody archetypes. And that's what I've done for the last, I don't know, 12, 13 years, worked with archetypes. So it was really a good confirmation. So I loved that. And it gave me more power. So connecting with someone like Jane, who can connect and confirm what you're feeling. If you're a mystic, or if you're a reader, or you're wanting to be a medium, and you're connecting, but you're not positive, getting a reading from Jane would really help you to confirm that. And it gives you more confidence and knowing that you have connected. It's really cool. It's really powerful.
And I do want to say this. The other thing that I saw with you, Aileen, is that you pray.
I do. Yes. I
Yeah.
pray. I pray at night, every night and every morning, to my angels, guides, and ancestors. Yes.
And so I think this was one of the messages. I didn't plan much to talk about because I'm just going to visit with you, beautiful souls. But the one thing that I did want to say is that I can see when people pray and their seventh chakra, their energy field looks completely different than when people don't pray. Now, I can't determine whether the prayer is a Christian prayer or a Muslim prayer actually, that's not true. People, their belief systems do mold their prayers. So, but it's all beautiful. Maybe it's a different shape, but it's shot with gold and silver and energy moving, depending on what it is. Words, I see little dots. Feelings are more colors.
Wow.
But when people pray, it really does affect the time space around them. It affects their biofield. It's my opinion that the prayer work or their intention, maybe prayer is too religious a word if you're a spiritual person,
Right.
and you've rejected religion, then intentional, genuine, not just words, but genuine feelings of well-being for the person in the who's sick or so forth. So that sort of is the message that I wanted to share, is that it is what I see, and that I do see people who are embracing their spiritual power as having a much greater advantage in this dimension than people who don't.
Mhm.
And we and so I also, I guess the punchline here is that we are way, 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 way more powerful than we are told that we are. I do not see that humans are a blight on Mother Earth. I think that we are really God's seeds, that we are seeds of the divine, and that with focusing our positive energy and really cultivating an open heart and praying for not only ourselves, our community, our people, our community, but Mother Earth. And actually what I've been doing lately is sending prayers to my star being cousins. I've had a couple, and I started to have encounters with what we might call aliens, but I really don't think they're aliens. I do think that we are we can't be the only intelligent life.
I agree. I agree.
So people do have superpowers, and I could, go into why I think not only are we not told that we have it, but that it's a stigma to use our superpowers. That will take me on a different tangent, but but the message I really want to get across is you are way more powerful than you could ever imagine. And and then people say, well, what do I do? Where do I start? Praying or focused positive thought is a really wonderful place to start.
Yeah, just talking to the universe, just having a conversation, asking for what you want and need, and being grateful.
Oh, that's another thing. That's interesting that you mentioned that. So I do see a lot of people. I taste, feel, smell energy around people. It's not just seeing. I use all my senses. A lot of people have a gratitude practice who aren't religious. So they just walk through the world, and it isn't just, people go through the day, almost some people in a prayer. Thank you for legs. Thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for my life. Thank you. It's does change the texture of someone's energy. The texture of someone's energy affects the biofield, affects how you interact with people. In my opinion, it affects what you attract to you. It's a game changer.
Yeah. I was smiling because I was thinking about at night when I lay down, one of the things I say is, I am so grateful for this bed, and I am so grateful for my home, because I'm grateful that I have a place to lay my body at night, and it's comfortable and it's a luxury. And so just that gratefulness,
Yeah, it's so true. We in the first world, although I think we might be in the second world now, things are changing, take so much for granted. But when I'm working with people that might be an assignment, I often give 28-day assignments. It is the cycle of the moon. And I do find if someone chooses to change, if they can do it for 28 days, it's the blood, you meet the universe halfway, and the momentum will take you into that change very, very easily. It isn't difficult at all. But doing gratitude exercise for 28 days is incredibly effective. And people say, well, how do I start? And I said, well, yeah, start with the most simple things that we have, and start blessing your food, the bed, your eyes there, or whatever. The next most effective thing that I see that people can do is ritual.
Yeah.
So, and people say, well, I don't know how to do a ritual. But it's so interesting because most people that I see have an innate sense of ritual. It's almost as if it's built in. So I say, well, just pick the 4 elements, a bowl of water for water, floating candles for earth, or for fire, floating flowers for earth, maybe a feather for air or incense. And then you can write your prayers, and drop it in the water, or speak it into liquid and drop it in the water. Or if you want to get rid of it, write it on toilet paper and flush it down the toilet. but ritual, including creativity, incredibly effective.
Yes. I also wanted to have you talk about Jane, the fact Jane's going to be offering astrology readings coming up
Yes.
soon, and I'm very excited. I'm going to get one.
This is I love just the art. I just have to do this just so I can have this. Oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful.
So a chart does read us from the earth. So that's why I put the earth in the middle, even though, of course, we know Copernicus came along and changed our paradigm, and that the sun is in the middle, but we do see ourselves from the earth. And this is us, this is you. And then the planets define different aspects of you. I see them as archetypes. So that's how I draw them to help people understand it. I do a particular kind of astrology that's called Western Sidereal astrology. It takes into account where the planets are at the time of your birth. Most common astrology that's known in our Western world is called tropical astrology. And that's based on a calculation from about 331 AD. So it isn't exactly, I used to be a Virgo, but when I looked at where my planets were really when I was born, I'm a Leo. It's off almost 25 degrees.
Wow.
So I try to avoid the argument of which is right. And I just say, if you're attracted to this kind of thing, to know where they are, great. If not, find a tropical astrologer. But it's where the planets are. So you may have a different sun sign. You most probably will have a different moon sign. And I'm bringing in the stars. The stars are really powerful. I'm fascinated with ancient culture and have been really studying ancient culture for 30 years and been to Egypt several times, spent time in the sarcophagus. These were charged in the sarcophagus.
Oh my God.
Great pyramid, very interesting. There's so much ancient wisdom, which I actually believe we're looking at legacy cultures, that these cultures were, they appeared completely intact with architecture, commerce, the arts, agriculture, animal husbandry, astronomy, which were the same thing. With the written words. So I really believe we're looking at these legacy cultures that came from somewhere else. I suspect it's Lemuria or Atlantis. I actually have, I was one of my earliest memories of standing in my grandparents' library. It was a whole library. And remembering that I asked my grandfather about Atlantis, and he said, "Oh, sweetheart, that is a mythical place." And I knew it wasn't, but I couldn't explain that to him because I don't think I could speak that articulately. And also, to me, he was sort of like God. So I couldn't.
Yeah.
So, but I actually have memories of being in Atlanta. So I believe that this astrology is so ancient, and that there's so much I can look at this and help give people the tools to understand the vehicle that they've come in with. Now, this vehicle, this expression of ourselves, in my opinion, is a mix of a bit of our soul. I don't think we bring our whole soul into incarnation, or we blow the circuits, and our DNA and our genetics, but also the moment of our birth and the effects of these planets have on us. It gives us people a great advantage of how to what gifts, what challenges, and how to maneuver effectively. It's really fun. I
Yeah.
love what I do. I have so much fun.
And it's so spot on. I mean, like I had my astrology chart done when I was very young, like 12 or 13, and it's just spot on. Even my mom, who is not like us, was very, like, oh my gosh, this is spot on.
It's helpful. It's
It's
helpful.
really helpful. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think helpful to revisit. I just had my chart done, I guess like in 2020 during COVID again by someone else. And it was just so helpful. I mean, it really did highlight like the things that are so innate about me, just.
So what was one thing that you found from your chart that spoke to you deeply?
Well, one thing she said, and I couldn't tell you what planets and what houses, but she said, I mean, your chart is the chart of a writer or an artist. I mean, it's like set up like these planets here. And I mean, I've just known that since I was a child, like that I would write a book someday, and then, I mean, art was a little different because I've just always done art, but yeah. And she says, I think one thing I took away is she says, you will struggle if you don't live this life because of how your planets are. I mean, it's so strong, it's so potent.
And did you write a book?
I haven't wrote a book, but I do write. I mean, I write. I write. I mean, I've been writing.
She's still young.
This is what I say. I've been writing in boxes, journals, and they tuck away in boxes for like 20 years. But now I'm just sort of like, okay, I'm ready to write, and that really came out during COVID. That really came out.
Yeah, I don't think a person has to necessarily write a book to express themselves, but expressing what's important to you and what your insights are is absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes I find I can express sometimes even more deeply just through art. It's like with the Roe versus Wade, I remember I like sat down and did this collage, this digital collage. And I mean, I'm just crying and working through the grief. And it just like what I heard was, oh, I get it. Why all artists were activists. It's like, it's just, I was in touch with that feeling of like, I gotta get this out there.
Yeah.
So I'm actually getting a body response to what you're saying. And so I want to share my insight with you, if that's okay. And also how I got it, because in a way it's a teaching. Our mind will trick us all day long. Our body can't lie. That's why muscle testing is effective. But I'm getting a chill up my spine, and I've learned my own physical responses enough to know what that means to me is that truth has been spoken. Mm-hmm. So just to reflect that back to you. And when what you just expressed to us was so powerful and authentic that it affected me physically. I just wanted to let you know that.
Thanks, because like when you reflect it back to me, I feel the chill in my whole body too.
Yeah, and so to take that idea and to branch it out and to package it a little bit is what we do when we embody creativity, our own authenticity, and our own voice, however that is, whether it's dancing around the living room in polka dotted underpants or whether it's doing a piece that's know that you are affecting time space, you are affecting your body, you are making a difference in the world, whether that is published in a book or whether it's in a gallery, in my opinion, is irrelevant. And I do see one of the assignments I give people is, I'm always giving 28-day assignments. One of the popular assignments is the make stuff assignment. And I have people who are sort of artistically constipated, which means they're not flowing. They're not making chills go down people's spines. make stuff for 10 minutes a day. I try to make it so it's successful. It doesn't have to be 3 hours, just 10 minutes. Make something, honor it, and then destroy it. So burn it, bury it, whatever you want to do. And because so many of us get attached to the preciousness of it, but the act of being creative with something that's authentic somehow opens something up inside of people, empowering people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's really cool.
Okay,
That's
I
really
can't
cool.
wait to be your new client. Like, because I just like, I am definitely scheduling a reading with you. Wow, Jane, I feel like it's just so powerful. And you know, it's just so powerful to talk to you. I mean, about the animal communication, about the healing work, about astrology. I mean, I also had chills in my body when you talked about the earth and like, you know, what prayer, like living in gratitude and ritual and prayer does for us. And it's just been great to talk with you. I just feel like I want to
Yes.
keep talking.
Are we wrapping up? Because there was one thing.
No, I know it sounds like I'm wrapping us up, but I'm just sort of saying like it's just great.
Yeah.
And I thank you, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to share my heart with both of you, and to share my heart with everybody. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here. So thank you. Yeah.
Do you want to say a little blurb about what you're teaching tomorrow or what you're coming in
sure.
to talk about tomorrow, just so people know?
Sure. And then I wanted to share with people the changes that I see happening from an energetic standpoint. I thought people might find it interesting.
Yeah.
Because
Definitely.
there's big changes happening. So
Yes.
yeah, tomorrow for the magical mentoring, which I'm so thrilled to be invited to teach, I'm going to be teaching about the cycle of the moon. This is something that we, especially as women, were in harmony with. Now, most ancient cultures, pre-patriarchy, so the Minoan culture in Crete was really our last functioning matriarchal culture. Amazing culture, by the way. I was there several years ago in Knossos, and the whole place is filled with art. They didn't actually have any kind of defenses, so they were taken over eventually, but the resources of the community went towards art and beauty and spiritual. I mean, it's a knockout. And the divine expression was the goddess, was the creatrix. And so these matriarchal cultures were naturally aligned to the moon. The patriarchal culture is naturally aligned to the sun. The moon, of course, 28 days controls the liquid on the planet. Hence the goddess of moisture. Venus on the half shell. We call her different things, but she controls all water. So what ain't most, 100 years ago, farmers planted by the moon. Now that's an alien concept, or perhaps if fundamentalist Christians, it might even be heresy to plant by the moon or by the moon signs. But when the moon is born, when it's a new moon and it grows to full, that's a fortnight, that's 2 weeks, and it brings the moisture up. The moon pulls the moisture up. So that is the time when the farmers planted different kinds of crops. When the moon goes down, she's dying. It takes a fortnight or 2 weeks for the moon to die, and the water goes back down. And so I'm going to go through what to plant in what phase of the moon according to how the ancients grew their vegetables. I've experimented with this myself in my own garden, and I have a limited son. I am challenged in many ways, but I get hundreds of pounds of produce out of my garden. So we'll be talking about that. But also these different stages can be used to plant intentions in our life that grow into abundant, symbolically abundant projects, a tree covered with fruit that attracts beautiful birds, or whether it's something that you want to die. There's times where you can really get rid of something very effectively. Negative things like envy or resentment. Many of my clients carry a lot of resentment, and that can calcify into things, dis-ease. So it's really important to release those. So I'm going to be talking about that, and talking a little bit about what the moon means and some history about the moon. Now, also there's signs of the moon that are better to plant and better to plant your intentions. So we'll talk about that.
I love this.
But and thank you for the opportunity to teach this. I think this is ancient wisdom that is really key. But what I wanted to share with you is that I really do see an awakening. Now, from a scientific perspective, we have the Schumann Resonance, which is perhaps the heartbeat of the earth, but it's an electromagnetic pulse, and it's been increasing and increasing, and it's very high right now. So you might consider that as a frequency elevation. We're also traveling galactically through a photon belt. It'll be for a couple thousand years, and that we are being bombarded with tiny little particles or we call them neutrinos. I always think when we call something, it flattens it, like that's a tree. It's this magical thing. But anyway, so we are being galactically bombarded with more light. The frequency of the earth is increasing. What I'm seeing with clients is several things. About 40% of my clients have some kind of, I call it a luminous egg. I don't know what it is, but it's coming out of the top of people's heads.
You had one too?
I had one. Yeah.
And I think it's, I believe it's some kind of, it feels evolutionary, as if we are moving into another dimension of human. People talk about being fifth dimension or something. It's hard for me to really know what that means, except that I do feel that we are moving to a higher frequency or a higher potential of who we are. I also see something opening inside of people, and the best way that I can describe it is a rose that opens in time-lapse photography, and that people's their capacity to love is somehow deepening and connecting to spirit. So those are.
I feel that in my heart, like when you say it. I mean, it's like I just feel it too, like in that moment.
If you're feeling a trust that it's true, and so I do believe that we are somehow evolving in a way that is beyond our comprehension. For example, it is said that the ancient Mesoamericans couldn't recognize the conquistadors' ships because they'd never seen anything like it. They didn't know what it was. So I really encourage people to embrace don't know mind, or to be mindful and attentive to nature, because there's so much information that we can glean from Mother Earth. And really to keep, if it's possible, keep your eye on the light instead of all that's falling away. When I did ayahuasca, I saw very clearly, I had some really big things to heal. And I did. that's a whole nother story. But one of the things I did see, and ayahuasca is a type of hallucinogen. It's very heavy duty, and it's made from two different plants that grow in the Amazon jungle, and they cook it and pray over it. And then you drink a little bit of it, and it alters your consciousness. And so when I journeyed on this sacred hallucinogen, I did see something that I do believe is happening right now. One I saw is a web of existence, although I've seen that without a hallucinogen. I just saw it more intensely. It's a web of life that everything is interconnected to, like Chief Seattle talked about, this web of existence that humans are part of that they didn't create. I also see actually a red web of AI. I think we got a big problem there, but that's not what I want to talk about. What I saw was the structures of the old ways falling away, and that there was a birth of something new. So as disturbing, as nerve-wracking, as fearful as it is to watch what we know to be real and, the way things are, and stable becoming unstable and falling away is disconcerting. So I feel that too, but I do feel that whatever's being birthed is the new Renaissance, and what is falling away is going to fall away regardless of whether we want it to or we try to jerry-rig it back together. So I did want to, that was an important message I did want to share.
Yeah, that feels really important. I mean, because we're all feeling it. You don't have to be intuitive to be feeling that. Some of us are just feeling it inside.
That's for sure. Well, great, ladies. This has been fun talking to you, Jane.
So great, Jane.
Yeah. I do want to say Jane has a magical book out. Can you show us that cover, Jane? And it's Love Never Dies. And she has her art in there, and she has stories to tell about her work with clients, both animal and human work. So well worth picking up. And you can buy that anywhere, right, Jane?
You can buy it anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes, I was gonna say the art is amazing. Oh.
I just want to show the other one of the horse one that I really like.
Yes, that one. I love that.
I have a print of that I can send you.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, I mean, because I have horses and I've had that feeling, and like it's such a awesome visual.
Yeah. Right. That love has a pattern, a frequency. Yeah.
And yeah, I also want to mention that when you do a reading with Jane, she'll do a piece of art as she's reading, and that gives you information, and you'll receive that piece of art. Mine's in the mail. I can't wait.
I wish you had it so you could show.
I know.
No, I should have thought about it. I don't think I have any samples because I've sent them to everybody, but
you have lots of beautiful samples of your art on your website too.
Oh, that's true. On
Encourage
my
people
website.
to
I
check
got
it
a
out.
lot of stuff on my website. It's becoming pretty complex, but if you're interested, you can certainly get all kinds of information there.
And you can find Jane at janesinspiration.com. And we will post that in the notes here. So anybody that watches this later also will know where to find Jane. And I have to say, I highly recommend getting a reading from Jane. It's going to help you to move forward in your life, help you to gain confidence and the courage to do whatever it is you need to do. And just knowing that connecting with your guides, angels, and ancestors, your pets, knowing that they're here for you is power in itself. So really cool. And Jane will be in our our magical mentoring membership tomorrow for a reading for a class. And
We knew what you meant.
yeah. And that will go into our library, our video library for anybody that joins our membership in any way, shape, or form. You'll be able to connect with that class with Jane and have her information to move forward to get in contact with her. And remember that she's going to be starting her astrology business in November. So getting an astrology reading is also an option with Jane coming up. And I'm going to be getting one myself. So, yeah.
Thank you. Louise.
After I have a regular reading.
It was so much fun. I really appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Jane, for taking the time to
Thank
be with
you.
us.
I had a lot
Yes.
of fun.
Oh, it's so much fun just to hang out and talk about
to hang
all the good
out.
stuff.
All the good
good
stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Good
The
stuff.
good stuff. Okay, thank you everyone for watching us on Facebook. We will yeah, thanks for joining us.
Well, yeah. Yeah. All right, ladies.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for being here.